All right, welcome into the lab presented by Wolverine. I am Jake Butt, your host, and this is Michigan State week. It is that week, baby. It's that week. I will be on the call for the Big Ten Network. It's the battle. It's a battle for Paul Bunyan, baby. Battle for Paul Bunyan. So it's going to be a fun one, as it always is in this matchup. And wanted to do a quick preview with you guys, everything that I've learned from my preparation, what I think the keys to the game will be. So let's dive right in. One thing that's very interesting here, and this is not X's and O's exactly, but this matchup, this game obviously isn't going to have conference title implications or national title implications, right? Both programs are where they are. But this is the new chapter of this rivalry, as in it's Sharon Moore's first time as a head coach. Jonathan Smith, it's his first year as a head coach in this rivalry, right? So these coaches, the chance to get their early legacy started off on the right foot. One of them will be 1-0 with a victory over their rivalry. The other won't. Obviously, for Michigan, the game versus Ohio State is going to be an absolute battle and an uphill climb. That team is loaded. They remind me of Michigan from last year. So the importance of this game is sky high for Sharon. It's a night game. Okay, so this is something that's real subtle. With this being an emotional game, with it being a rivalry, and with it being a night game, Sharon is going to have to manage his team from wake up to bus to the stadium, which is from about 8 a.m., 9 a.m. till about 4 or 5 in the afternoon when they get ready to head over to the stadium. That window can exhaust teams. Okay. What Jim would do for us, we had a night game at Utah, our first ever game with Coach Harbaugh. We're on the road at Utah. It's a night game, long day. Jim would say, sleep in to shorten the day. Great. But then after that, you don't just want to sit in your hotel room all day, thinking about the game. It's exhausting. So Jim would schedule a team walk. Everyone would meet down in the lobby, and we walked around town. Saw some of the historic landmarks, went into a church, all this stuff. Jim was able to break up the day. We also did a walkthrough. Of course, you have meals, but you do not just want to sit around all day thinking and waiting for the game. That's not good. Jonathan Smith has been a head coach prior to his tenure at Michigan State. He understands this. Sharon Moore, this is his first time as the sole head coach of the program. So this is something that Sharon, I'll be interested to talk to him this weekend and see how he handles it. What to expect in this matchup? Let's start with Michigan having the football. This team is built from the inside out. The success of the team is reliant on the offensive line. The offensive line looked shaky at best in the early portions of the season. I do not think they are an elite offensive line right now, but I do think they are improving. It'll be interesting to see what they do at the tackle positions. All right. Because Miles Hinton, he was out, right? Evan Link, they moved him out as well. So what to expect? There was a battle at the center position. It sounds like from Sharon's presser, Greg Crippen will be at center. I expect Gentry to be at right tackle. And if Hinton's good to go, he will be left tackle. The guards are still the same. I think that's a good offensive line. I think that is a good unit. Probably the best unit Michigan can put out on the field right now. Of course, you have Colston and Max Bredesen. I know Marlon Klein left the game. We'll see his health. But the formula here, coming off of the Illinois game, has got to be to run the ball. Whoever's quarterback, Jack Tuttle had 32 attempts. It's not the winning formula. That 20 attempts max, of which 5 need to be creative screens, of which 2 or 3 need to be easy RPOs. And particularly you get to this early in the game to build confidence, present clean pictures, get your quarterback settled in the game. Don't put a ton of weight on his shoulders or the offensive line shoulders. They're not a great pass protecting offensive line right now, and that includes the running backs. Settle them into the game. I look at Indiana. Their quarterback, Curtis Rourke, goes down. In comes backup Taven Jackson. He was 7 for 8 on the day, and the only incompletion was a drop. But they schemed him, clean pictures, easy presentations, stuff so Taven Jackson was able to succeed and build his confidence. That has to be the game plan for Jack Tuttle or whoever's playing quarterback this week. Off of that, of course, they got to run the football. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. But Khalil Mullings is a star running back. He is a damn good running back, a damn good running back. And I'm sorry if some of your kids are watching this, but I felt damn was the perfect adjective to describe how good of a running back Khalil Mullings is. He plays the position well. Minimum. Every single game down the stretch of the season, starting this week, minimum 25 carries. I'm calling for it. A minimum of 25 carries. Donovan can come in and spell him and change the pace, and maybe you get them both on the field at the same time. A minimum 25 carries. That's the recipe. Now, off of this, Michigan State, one of the key hires of the offseason, it's been very overlooked. Jonathan Smith plucked Joe Rossi, the defensive coordinator, from Minnesota. He's a damn good coach. I believe he will be a head coach one day. And our coach meetings have always been impressed and blown away by Joe Rossi. Michigan State played Iowa last week. They played a good game. Okay? Like, we can look at that film, and they played a good game. They took advantage of their bye week. They took advantage of where they are in the season. Iowa's offense is very similar to Michigan. Two of the worst passing offenses in the conference in the country. Heavy run with great running backs and play action and passes to the tight end. It's an advantage to Michigan State in the sense like they got a tune-up, a warm-up. They got to play Iowa, which is a spitting image of Michigan offensively. Iowa's running back is a guy by the name of Caleb Johnson. One of the best backs in the conference in the country. Leading running back in the conference and then in the country. Dude produces. They shut him down defensively. They completely shut him down. He had one 75-yard touchdown late in the game. If you take that touchdown away, he didn't even have 30 yards on the day. He didn't do anything. He was unable to affect the game. Why? Michigan State's front seven, okay? They don't have stars like we do. Josiah Stewart, Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham. They don't have stars like Michigan does. But they do a heavy rotation. They played 17 different guys in their front seven. Heavy rotation. So Michigan, they're not going to be able to just lean on Michigan State. Like there's too hefty of a rotation. They're able to keep their guys fresh. What they also did was plug and blitz linebackers. Okay, so they take their linebackers who are standing 5 yards off the ball, they get down into the A gap, and they blitz. So they're rotating guys, they're blitzing linebackers, they're creating 5-man fronts and 6-man fronts, and forcing running backs to cut in the backfield. The key guy to watch is Jordan Turner. He's their linebacker. He's their best player. He's a transfer from Wisconsin. He came in this offseason, was immediately voted captain. Immediately. So Jordan Turner is a stud. Next to him will be Cal Halliday. He's a very solid Big Ten linebacker, good tackler. And then there's a heavy rotation on the defensive line. They are going to sell out to stop the run. That's what they did versus Iowa. Can Michigan run the ball? Here's the key stat for you guys. 48 of the last 54 games between Michigan and Michigan State. So the last 54 matchups, 48 of those games have been decided by the team that runs for more yards. Very telling statistic. Whoever wins the running battle wins this game. Whoever wins the trenches wins this game. It's going to be that kind of game. Okay. Michigan State, like I just said, coming off one of their best defensive performances in general, just the best trench performances of the season. Michigan in absolute dire need to get the run game going. That will decide this game. I also think Colston Loveland, continue to feed him. 10 targets plus a game. He was open. Tuttle missed him. But he continues to be your best passing option. Will be interesting to see which guys match up with Colston Loveland this weekend. Big shout out to our sponsor, Wolverine, as there is a new collab with Wolverine and U of M football players, guys like Colston Loveland, Alex Orgy, Donovan Edwards, Mason Graham, all your favorite players, basically. You can head over. You can see it all over social media. These guys doing photo shoots. What can't they do? Modeling the new clothes in new gear. I'm wearing the flannel, as you guys know. It's fall. Got to wear flannels. But there is a new special edition Michigan branded Wolverine work boot. It's beautiful for the fall. Actually would go really well with this flannel. So basically, if you guys want to shop this collection, shop the new work boots, shop the new collab between Alex Orji, Mason Graham, Colston Loveland, all these guys, head over to wolverine.com/blue collar. Again, that's wolverine.com/blue collar to shop the collection and learn more about Wolverine's NIL campaign with hardworking Michigan football players. So there it is. That's the Michigan offense. Expect heavy linebacker pressures. Expect them to sell out to stop the run. Expect them to try to cloud the picture. And the key will be, when does Khalil Mullings make his first cut? You do not want your running back making cuts behind the line of scrimmage. Okay. You want that cut to be at or beyond the line of scrimmage. Let that big battering ram get some momentum. That's going to be the key in the recipe here. Ball security, absolutely critically important. It has cost them game after game after game after game. Honestly, like when I watched the film versus Illinois, it wasn't as bad as you'd think. Like when you watch the film, it wasn't like it was a terrible game. There was a ton of missed opportunities, and the interceptions, inexcusable. The interceptions, the fumbles, inexcusable. So expect that. Michigan State, they're going to be punching and clawing and ripping at the football. Ball security is critical. All right. On the flip side, when Michigan State has the football, who are they? They finally, under Jonathan Smith's leadership, they have an identity once again. And their identity reminds me a lot of the D'Antonio years. I just talked about the defense. That's a physical, stout defense. They played literally probably one of their best games of the season. The same is true for their offense. They have been shuffling up front. It's been a transformative experience for their offensive line. They have guys transfer out before and during spring ball. They have guys get injured. They're putting tackles at the guard position and vice versa. It's all over the place. And then bang, last week, they certainly seem to have found something. We know Iowa has a good defense. So here's the stats, okay? Here's their last 3 games. Versus Ohio State, they ran it for 47 yards. Versus Oregon, they ran it for 59 yards. Versus Iowa, they ran it for 212 yards. So they ran it as much as the last 2 games combined times 2. Crazy, right? They think they found something up front. They are facing an elite Michigan defensive line. So can Michigan stop the run? Can Michigan State run the ball? That's the key. I love this matchup because I love watching the defensive line for Michigan. Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Josiah Stewart has become a star. I believe they just made him captain this week. Rightfully so. He's earned it. I felt Jayshon Barham, Michigan's linebacker, I thought he played his best game of the season. We've been waiting to see that. Dude is a physical freight train. When he hits people, they go backwards. But he was all over the field. Pass breakups, TFLs, sacks, pressure. He played his best game. Going to need to happen again this week. It's the battles up front in the trenches that will decide this game. Michigan State has a young quarterback and a guy by the name of Aiden Chiles. Young, talented, gifted. You use the word arm talent. Okay. What does arm talent mean? It just means your ability. Arm talent is basically asking, if I can think of a throw, do you have the ability to make it? Okay. Like Patrick Mahomes with Andy Reid. Andy Reid is a mad scientist and he schemes up these different passing concepts. And then Patrick Mahomes is the guy that can make any throw from anywhere on the field off any platform. That's Aiden Chiles. The dude has a rocket launcher attached to his arm. He can make every throw. But that talent is a double-edged sword because, like Michigan, he has experienced a ton of turnovers this year. So you have this dynamic of experience or inexperience, youth, talent, turnovers. And yet, what I see is a young quarterback that's progressing. In the last 2 games, he's only had 1 turnover. That's great progress. It's the difference. It's the juxtaposition where you look at Michigan, who's rotated 3 different quarterbacks. That limits and stunts your growth. Mistakes are okay as long as you learn from them. I thought Davis Warren was playing good football aside from the turnovers. So then they put him on the bench. In comes Orji. Orji does what Orji does. He's certainly a unique talent. And then they put him on the bench. And in comes Jack Tuttle. And now we'll see what they do. But the problem, it's up and down, up and down, up and down. There's always going to be mistakes in early parts of these guys' careers. But Michigan, the quarterbacks haven't had the chance to learn from him because they've went to sit on the bench. Childs has made a ton of mistakes, but he's learned from them. Now only one turnover in the past 2 games. Now he puts the ball at risk. Okay, his turnover versus Iowa, not a good throw. He had a few more throws that should have been picked off. But this guy is in real time. We're seeing him get settled in, and the game's slowing down. Very interested to see how he manages this moment emotionally. Of course, it's a rivalry game, it's a night game, it's on the road. Okay, those are usually signals of vulnerability for young quarterbacks. For Michigan, are they in the right position? And then do they take advantage of opportunities? Meaning, do they complete the interception if the ball hits them in the hands? That's the question, right? The other piece of this with Aiden Childs, when I say gifted talent, special athlete, I also include his running ability. Had some awesome runs last week versus Iowa. He is a dynamic athlete, both in the read option game, down in the red zone, and in short yardage, and in off schedule plays after his reads aren't there downfield. He has the ability to tuck it and run and make guys miss. Very special talent. He's a dangerous quarterback. He's the type of quarterback that defensive coordinators lose sleep over throughout the week because he can hurt you in so many ways. This is a game where momentum will be big, and say you got a quarterback backed up and it's 3rd and 9, you play great defense and you have everyone covered and you flush him out of the pocket, and then Childs tucks it and finds a way to move the chains with his feet. Those are gut-wrenching momentum plays. There's the fork in the road. Does he make those plays while protecting the football? Does Michigan tackle him? Big matchup there, right? They have a really talented young receiver in Nick Marsh. We've talked about Jeremiah Smith. We've talked about Ryan Williams, 2 elite freshman wide receivers. Nick Marsh is a freshman. I'm not going to say he's in that category, but he's talented, very talented. And they look like a completely different offense when he's being fed. Is Will Johnson healthy? How healthy is he? Is he matched up with Nick Marsh? Does he follow him across the field? What does that look like? Okay, that's as simple as I can put it. Because Nick Marsh he's a longer, bigger body. He's a bigger body wide receiver that changes direction effortlessly, which is what creates separation. Like, he's running down the field at full speed. There's no signs. Bang his foot in the ground and he's running to the post or the out or the dig. Like, it's some bigger guys. It takes them a while to decelerate and then reaccelerate. Nick Marsh, he's playing at one speed, almost like a jitterbug. Like, he just never loses speed. Great hands, big body. He's their go-to guy. Their offensive passing game has been completely reliant on Nick Marsh. And for a young quarterback at Aiden Childs, he's extremely reliant on Nick Marsh. What's Michigan's game plan for him? Need a little coffee break there. Protection. That's another piece of this. What the game plan has been versus Michigan's defensive line is they're one of the most disruptive D-line units in all of college football in terms of sacks and TFLs and creating negative plays. They are elite. So what teams have been doing is they just get the ball out quick. I believe versus Washington, the average time to throw, like from snap to release of the football for Will Rogers, it was like 2.1 seconds. It was like historically quick. Teams are saying, forget this. We're not even gonna give them a chance to sack our quarterback. Get the ball out quick. So for Wink Martindale, the question then becomes, and this is what I would expect to see, presenting cloudy pictures, meaning getting your defensive backs into press coverage or aggressive coverage. So pre-snap, it doesn't look like the underneath routes and the hitch routes are there. Because if you're playing off coverage by 10 yards, the quarterback knows right away, ball's out. Like, let's just get rid of the ball now. You have to present things, the mental battle, present things to muddy the picture for Aiden Childs so he doesn't think he can get the ball out quick. Because, again, he has the capability and the horses around him to get the ball out quick. But those early downs, 1st and 2nd down, the challenge is which direction is Michigan State going? Can Michigan force negative plays, or can Michigan State stay ahead of schedule to avoid those obvious passing downs on 3rd down? Like, these are little things, right? These are little things that will decide this game. Very underrated player to watch. Jack Velling, the tight end for the Spartans. There's been some great tight ends in the conference. Obviously, Michigan has one in Colston Loveland. Penn State has one in Tyler Warren. I can go down the list, but Jack Velling is one of the best in the conference. He hasn't been used heavily this year. At some point, I believe he will be used. And it could be this week. You know, if there was ever a week to empty the Rolodex, it is this week. So that's a big piece of this. It again, it all comes back to the trenches. Just to summarize this, when Michigan State has the football, their offensive line's coming off their best game of the really probably of the past 5+ years. Yes, I'm saying that. They dominated Iowa up front, which allowed them to create a stout running game to the tune of 212 yards. Off of that, they were able to get into play action, which allowed their quarterback, Aiden Childs, to settle in the game. All of a sudden, he's playing with confidence. So then they get into the read option, which helps their run game, and they're making guys miss, explosive momentum building plays. Off of that, finally, now he's playing really confident. Now you can get into your drop back passes and get the ball out to Nick Marsh. Okay, for Michigan, the challenge is can you win that battle up front? Can you stuff the run game? Can you create negative plays on first and second down? And then on third down, when you're in an advantageous position, can you get off the field? Part of that includes spying Aiden Childs because he's a mobile quarterback. And what's the health of Michigan's secondary and the game plan to stop Nick Marsh? The offense has effectively just run right through him. So the last piece is special teams. We've seen special teams be a deciding factor in a number of games. Iowa was able to break off a few long kick returns versus Michigan State. And yet their kicker, Kim, coming off a historically great day. Dude was money from everywhere on the field. Literally, they were just kicking field goal after field goal after field goal. Special teams can decide it. Turnovers, who's winning the turnover battle? Both teams are very prone to turnovers. I believe who wins the turnover battle will decide this. And then which team manages the emotions is the last thing to put a bow on this. Which team manages the emotional flow of the game will be critical. Each team will face their fair share of adversity. Does that bring them closer together, or does that put a strain in the locker room? For Michigan, it's true. You look at their schedule, still Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State, among others. If you want to get to a bowl game, you got to win this one. Crazy to say that. If you want to get to a bowl game, you got to win this one. Michigan State already has played Ohio State and Oregon. They've played some of their tougher matchups. For Michigan, if you want to win a bowl game, you got to win this one. It's just the truth of the matter. I cannot wait. I will be on the call for the Big Ten Network. So many fun things to watch and observe. Such a telling and revealing rivalry. I fully expect it to be. Cannot wait to see this new chapter, new era of this rivalry, Michigan versus Michigan State. Jonathan Smith, in-state rivalry, first time. Sharon Moore, first time coaching this one as a head coach. Night game in the big house, going to be a fun one. Let me. I would love to hear from you guys, though. Let me know what your score predictions are, what you think will decide the game. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments how you think this game's going to go and what will decide it ultimately. Looking forward to seeing you guys this weekend. This is The Lab presented by Wolverine. We'll see you next week.